Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are tuning into this episode. I want to welcome you back to the Mentor Nation podcast. I'm your host, John Abbas, and I am very excited to be with you today. I've got a guest that is literally going to blow your mind. This interview, I truly believe will knock your socks off. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you for the first time and just ask that you take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button so that every time I release a new episode, you get a notification. If you've been here before, I just want to thank you. And, I know that you could be doing anything else with your time. So the fact that you're spending some of it here with me on this show really actually means a lot to me. So thank you. Okay. So today's guest has literally one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard. I was actually just laughing because I think I say the word literally way too many times, literally. But I guarantee you that you are going to leave this interview extremely inspired. And I know this because this is one of the only interviews where the minute I got off the interview, I called my wife and I said, babe, you really need to listen to this guest ASAP. I just was so inspired and you need to listen to it. And, she just got really excited. Rich Frierson, aka Younglord, is a Grammy-nominated hip hop and R&B producer turned multi-millionaire real estate investor. Crazy story, and you'll hear how it all went down. But at the age of 16, he signed with P. Diddy's record label, and he quickly learned the business of producing music. His company, Licensed to Rock, controls a catalog of over 5,000 songs, and he has licensed music to many major movie studios and other really high-profile brands. Now, looking to diversify, he got involved in real estate investing through his ability to humble himself and find mentors. Even though he already had success and he's already a big deal in the music business, he humbled himself and he was willing to learn, and he used his curiosity to go and get involved in real estate and found massive success there as well. Now, in this interview, Rich and I just have a really great conversation. We talk about mindset and the principles that he uses to duplicate his success over and over and over in industries that he absolutely knew nothing about. This is just such a powerful interview. You're going to take away so many valuable nuggets. So I just hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Rich, welcome to the Mentor Nation podcast, man. I've been looking forward to this interview for some time, and just want to thank you for being on to share some really great wisdom with the listeners today.
Yeah, I think that the name of your podcast is really cool, and it's very fitting, especially for my experience, is because I've been led through mentors, my entire life, from, one to the other in any business I've been in. And it's so important that you have it. I mean, you just cut the line so much when you have the right mentor with you.
People just don't realize that. Like, you can learn. Like, I had a mentor that was very wealthy, and there's a saying that he would always tell me. He was always like, you could spend a lifetime learning from your own mistakes or lunch learning from somebody else's. He's just like, go get a mentor. And so you're absolutely right. And this is exciting. So for those listening, well, Rich has had some pretty incredible mentors in his life, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Richard, you have a very interesting story, and I want to let you tell it. But for those listening, he got his start in the music industry at a young age, became very successful working with major artists like Diddy, Beyonce, Jay-Z. And then the thing that I really appreciate is that he had pivoted into other business ventures such as real estate. And, you've become sort of a mogul, flipping houses, in different cities. And I just think that's powerful for a lot of reasons, because so many people in different industries, they're just like a one-trick pony, right? Like, they have some kind of success and they're never able to repeat it. But, you've been able to do it over and over and over in different industries. And I want to get into that. But I wanted to focus this interview on just your story, your mindset. And the thing that I'm really interested in is just how you've compounded your success by adapting, pivoting, and just changing when you need to. But I want to start early on, man, with, just kind of your story. Like, what were your early days like? When did you get started? What did you do? Can you just share that journey a little bit?
Sure. You know, my early days, I actually wanted to become an attorney. That was my
Huh.
whole mission. When I was about 15, my parents had a party, and I have a cousin who went to Harvard Law School, and he came in with the most beautiful woman I ever saw in my life. And I said, that's it. I'm going to Harvard Law School. So if that's what comes with it, Harvard Law School is it, you know. And then shortly after that, I ended up, bumping into the music business, and that was just something that took me away from law school. You know.
Yeah. Did you have a
Yeah.
natural ability in music? Like, I mean, what did
No,
you start doing? Was it just
no, I had no natural ability in music. I was not thinking about music, but how I got into music, period, is my first week of high school. I was walking this girl to the bus. I was trying to get her phone number, and she was beautiful. I mean, she was beautiful. And after she left, this guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey, is that your girlfriend?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Wishful thinking. I always had that mindset. You got to act as if. And he said, "Hey, are you into music?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, I own a recording studio around the corner." And he gave me his card. He said, "You're welcome to come by whenever you want." And this guy actually was a legitimate player in the music business, and he opened the doors. Like, this guy, I don't even think he understood what he was doing at that moment as far as letting me in that world. But it's the people you see on TV, they were coming through this recording studio, and I got to sit in sessions. So I caught the bug. Immediately I was like, how do I do this? And luckily for me, there was this producer who worked there named Jesse West, who he took me seriously to the point of he answered my questions, and he kind of helped stroke that fire. And from there I was like, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
that's crazy. So what ended up happening? I mean, obviously a lot of people love music, a lot of people catch that bug. How did you actually become successful doing it? Like, a door can open for you and only lead you so far, but did you discover that you actually had a knack for it? What was like,
No, you know what?
huh?
I kept on I just kept moving forward. And luckily I have a brother who was also like interested in music, my older brother, and so he started rapping. So it kind of became a bigger thing. We just kept pushing. And when I was in that studio, one of the guys who owned the studio, his name was Tony Dofat. He was a producer for like Heavy D and Uptown Records. And
Mhm.
I would always hear this guy, Sean Puffy Combs. That was his name at that time. I would always hear his name go by. And then the guy, Jesse West, he was producing this guy named Biggie Smalls. So I would always hear, these names. And then they signed this guy by the name of DMX, and this is 1992's early DMX. So I got to meet and become really close with those guys. And then maybe uh, I would hear Sean Puffy's name, but I associated his name with R&B, with Mary J. Blige, with R&B. And then in 1994, I was in school one day, and these girls were talking about um, Craig Mack. He had a big hit with Flavor in Your Ear, and Sean Puffy Combs. The name hit me again, but this time it rang a bell. It's like, this is some pretty girls. I was like, they know about him. I need to get with this guy. So right in school, I went and called information and got the number to his office. And I called. I said, "Look, I'm 16. I'm the best producer in the world. you know, who can I talk to?" And they had just opened the office, so it's also about right timing too. So she didn't know she was supposed to give out any information, but she gave me the name of the A&R, and I had 1 quarter left, and I called home and I called my brother. I said, "Look, call this guy, set up a meeting for me." And by the time I got home from school, I had a meeting with him the next day.
You have
So
to be that's crazy. There's two things that I want to point out that you just said. And I swear, man, I said this 2 podcasts ago with a guest. He's the dentist for the most successful movie stars on the planet. Like he's the
Hmm.
most famous dentist in the world. Like Tom Hanks, just like everybody goes to him. And he said the same thing that most of my other guests say, same thing that you said, which is just calling, being like having the courage to reach
Yeah.
out. Like so many
Yeah.
people are so intimidated and they're so scared to like take a chance like that and just reach out to somebody that you look up to, man. I want to have you speak to
Oh
that
man.
because it's just
Yeah. Like that is let me tell you what's funny, right? I went and met with this guy, and his name is Harv Pierre. He ended up becoming the president of the company. Um, this guy, he has an ice face. You can't tell what he's thinking or anything like that. But it was obvious that he did not like my music, right? So that was fine. I was like, well, we'll find another place, you know. So then they called me out of nowhere, and it was like, Puffy wants to meet with you. And I met with him, and now he's like the opposite of Harv. He's very expressive. You know exactly what he's thinking. And he's like, I hate your music. Like, this is not good, you know. But he's like, I like the fact that you made it into my office. And
wow.
because of that, I see something in you. He said, I'm gonna sign you and put you on the job training. And he was so sure of himself that he thought that, hey, if this kid just hangs out with me, he'll get it. And luckily enough for both of us, that was the case.
Man, that's awesome. And so you went on to have a successful career in music,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah,
is, I mean, that's rare in and of itself. It's just like, everybody wants to
yeah.
be an athlete, but very few ever make it to the highest level. You did. You went and you made it to the highest level. So just to kind of finish off music before we pivot into what you did after, like,
Mhm.
what was that run like? Did you got into producing? Like how'd that end up?
Oh man, it was it was a dream. You know, people, you can't make this stuff up. It's exactly what you dream of as a young kid. And a lot of people talk about Puffy and say, oh, he takes people money, he does all of that stuff. It this guy, he what he did was he spoiled us. We made more money than any other the people were making, and it was just consistent. It was constant. I mean, we had a good 10-year run where everything that was released was gold or platinum. Like that is just
Wow.
unimaginable. And it created a really great atmosphere. And I learned so much from him. I mean, he's a master at just leading a team, and he's just really great. So I was able to experience that, and that helped me tremendously. Like it's the lessons I learned there that allow me to do any other business because the same rules apply.
Yeah. Was he a great businessman?
Oh, he's the best because
Wow.
he's a great negotiator. He's a great negotiator. He's the best negotiator I ever come in contact with. I mean, he'll tell you no, but you'll still leave with a smile on your face. He'll like, and that's one thing that I think has helped me, you know, trying to channel that into my other businesses, specifically my real estate business, because that is connecting with people, that is negotiating, and you have to make sure that it's something that leaves people with a smile on their face, you know.
Absolutely. Well, it seems that you wanted to go to Harvard because of a beautiful girl. You got introduced to music because of a beautiful girl. So, did you get into real estate because of a beautiful girl?
No, no. But how I got into real estate is funny too. Now my dad is a real estate guy, you know, but he's like a buy and hold guy. So growing up, he would always preach real estate, but I was in music one ear out the other, you know. And one cool thing is like, when I started making a lot of money, and you know, I was gonna go buy the producer's starter kit, which I mean is like jewelry, earrings, the cars, everything. He's like, all right, I know you're gonna do that, but before you do that, you know, I want you to invest in this real quick, you know. So I was able to get a little understanding of it for there before I jumped out the
Yeah.
window with all my jewelry and stuff. But years later, I was with a friend who from the music business, and he was telling me about real estate for years, but one ear went out the other, and I just happened to be with him. He had a closing that day, and he sold this property, and he made $300,000 off this deal. And I was there, I saw it, and I was like, "Hold up, what just happened here?" Because it's now I make a lot of money, but it takes some effort to make $300,000. So
Absolutely.
I was curious, and he's like, "Well, look, man, he's like, well, hey, pay me this, and I'll teach you." And I'm like, it was a lot of money. He wanted about 25 grand. And he's like, look, if I don't charge you, you'll never take it seriously. Right.
So
So
true.
I said, all right, fine, no problem. I'll make the investment. And he became one of many mentors that helped me through this real estate thing. And what I realized too is a lot of people on the fringes of the music business were into real estate in some way, shape, or form. And it was the best investment I made that relationship, that mentorship, uh, that made me about maybe 5 times that, within the first deal. It's just,
Wow.
it was incredible.
That's really powerful. You hear stories on both sides, right? You have like people like Johnny Depp who spent $1 million a month on wine, and somebody that made $300 million just in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and then just blowing money, having no real understanding of assets. And then you have people like Jeremy Renner, which I don't know if you know that he's Hawkeye and all the Marvel movies. He was in the latest Jason Bourne movie. When he's not acting, he is flipping huge properties in California.
Mm.
He's making tons and tons of money. He's wired like that. And it's really cool that, you had your dad there and you had those mentors there at a pivotal moment, it seems like, in your life to help you transition.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you speak to that? So you get bit by the real estate bug now,
Oh yeah.
and you've been doing it for a while now. You've made a name
Oh
for
yeah.
yourself. So can you share a little
Yeah.
bit about that journey, what you're doing now, and what that looks like?
Okay. So yeah, once I got with that bug, I totally immersed myself in that world, in addition to my mentor, and which I found is I mean, even with a mentor, they're not gonna like walk you through everything. You still gotta do it and get to that point where they can actually assist you, and
That's
it's
right.
more like a safety net. So I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading books, I'm getting all of this, and I found that the key is really you can learn everything you want, but if you don't get hand-to-hand combat and make connection with people and get some houses under contract, it don't mean nothing.
That's
It
exactly
doesn't
right.
mean nothing. So I started doing that. And but one of the things that I did was I tried to look at my advantages. What advantages did I have that maybe other people didn't have? And one advantage I had was that I was in the music business and I was pretty well known within my, colleagues. And within the music business, we all have cycles where one year, we're hitting out the park, we'll make $1 million, but the next year, we don't make $1 million. We'll maybe make $600,000, but we're still spending like we made that $1 million the year before. And then between that, taxes, some people, get caught up out there, and they lose their homes. So what I started doing was sending word out to everybody that if you are in a problem like that, that I can help you with that, and I'll pay you cash money outside of what the banks will to, take possession of your home, and then I'll work out short sales like that. So these were and then they weren't just regular homes. I mean, these are high end, top of the line homes. And then also in the music business, a lot of people were, uh, they get divorced all the time.
That's that's
They get
right.
divorced all the time. So they just leave their homes, and then, either they leave it with the wives, but the wives can't pay for it by themselves. So they have to do something with, like, something's always happening. So I kind of put the word out there, and I helped one of my friends with his situation. He actually had like a divorce, and he's like, pretty, prominent within the music scene. So once that went right, everybody else started falling in line. So that was like my little niche for a while, as far as short sales. But then, I don't believe in just like having one way to make money. I got into, I was sending letters. I was putting up signs like myself. I would get up in the morning and put up signs. After a while, I put a team together that would do that. But that was very
Yeah.
beneficial as well. It almost got me arrested a few times, but it was it was very beneficial, because you think about it, people who are in trouble like that, um, that at least where I was flipping, which is like Westchester, Rockland counties in New York, they may not necessarily be looking for a solution on the internet. It has to kind of like be in front of them
That's
somehow,
exactly right.
So whether a letter, whether it's a sign, or whatever the case is. So I would find all these addresses and put up signs near them. I would really try and get them, and that was a good thing for me too.
Wow. So, it's crazy because one of the things that all of what you're talking about have in common is that, you've had a hustle from a very young age. Where did you get that from? Like, you had success, but you're still willing to go out and do the things you need to do, put out signs, and I mean,
Oh
whatever it
man.
takes. Like, where is that from your parents? Did you get the
You know
whatever it
what? It
takes?
it is it is from my dad, because my dad, he was a, a deputy warden up in Rikers Island in the jails, right? Which is a
Wow.
pretty good position. But he still he would have us like cleaning out people's backyards in the summers. He would have so many other things going on, because he had this family to provide for, that it didn't matter to him. He had to get it done. So it wasn't like he would we would sell noisemakers in the winters, and not just as our immediate family, but our extended family. So he would always make sure that everybody would be, making some kind of type of money and stuff. So from that mindset, I got to see that, like, yeah, on one hand, yeah, I'm selling all these records, I'm making all this money, but there is, at the end of the day, it's about, supporting your family, and living out what you want to live.
Absolutely. Man, it's so funny. My dad was the same position here in Riverbend Maximum Security in Nashville.
Oh, oh wow.
And I remember when I got in trouble in high school, he made me go to his work and talk to inmates. And
Yeah.
I think I got a lot of perspective from that. That's so fun. It wasn't Rikers Island, but
Right, 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 right.
I mean, it was still, pretty intimidating to a high school kid. So, I didn't realize that like, did you start flipping houses on a high level like that? Like big houses? Like you didn't start small.
No, no, I didn't start small. It,
Dang.
it yeah, and then also one thing about the flipping houses is the design aspect of it. When you're redoing something to make it, and at the time I wasn't married, my girlfriend, she really wasn't into this stuff. So I'm literally walking around Floor and Decor trying to find women. Like, what do you think of these tiles? Stuff like that. And but one thing that I guess helped me kind of get it all together is in the Bad Boy system, we were a team, and that's one of Puff Sean Diddy Combs' superpowers. He puts together great teams. So after I did something that I knew how it needed to be done, I immediately built a team to kind of help me with that,
Hmm.
and then we were able to do, after like I think the third property, we're doing like, three properties at a time, three, four properties at a time.
Wow. Man, there's, it's funny because a lot of what you just say and sharing stories are valuable lessons, everything from negotiating
Yeah.
to building great teams to reaching out and finding mentors. It's like a lot of people, I think, listen to podcasts and they're always just looking for like, just give me the steps, just give me the steps, what's step one, what's step two. But the real lessons are in the stories. They're in the things that you did, the actions that you took, the mindset that you had when you were doing those things. And it's just like, I hope that and I know they are, because they're smart. I know the listeners are going to pick up on all of that. So you started building this real estate business. Like where's it at now? Like what's your focus right now?
All right. So right now, we're still, even through the pandemic, we're
Yeah.
still flipping in New York, but I hold in Atlanta. So and the reason why is because I have a team down there that can facilitate that, so I'm not going to hold in New York, because also I try and take myself out of the equation. I know that I can't necessarily stick in one place. So I have a team that does all the construction and does all the stuff. And my little nephew, he kind of oversees things for me in New York if I'm not there. And then I have a same team that handles my holds in Atlanta.
Hmm.
So yeah, between those two places, that's what I'm doing. I'm holding a lot, but I do have some multi-families in New York that I'm gonna hold on to for a while.
It's a good area, New York. It's like, I'm in here in Nashville, where my wife's in real estate, and we own a lot of properties together. We focus on short-term rentals. We love
Mhm.
vacation rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, and just beautiful places, beach, lake, cabins. And it's just, we'll get buyers that come in from California and New York, and just, they'll sell their little home for $3 million, and they'll come here and they'll buy like 6 properties in Nashville. I mean, the market's growing, but it's really crazy. So I want to just to make it concrete for everybody listening, to make it real, like, tell us about like a really badass deal that you've done. Like what was like your best deal? Like that you're just
All
like,
right,
oh my
all
God.
right. Well, you know what? There's a deal I just did yesterday that is pretty cool.
Perfect.
So so right now I do mentoring for a few folks, and there's a part of the program is that pretty much after we go through all the stuff, I sit with you as you speak to the clients that you might buy from the sellers. And but this why this particular deal I'm so excited about is because we were able to I partnered up with him with this because he needed the financing, but it's really his baby. But we were able to get it from an estate for $1 million, and we're going to put about maybe about 250 into it to really modernize it, take it up. um and also for the flippers out there, make sure you become vendors with everybody who you buy from, whether it's countertop, whether it's flooring, whether, like, do not buy stuff retail prices. That's just no, you can't do that. There you figure out ways to become a contractor, at least on paper, to make these purchases. It'll save you a ton of money.
Hmm.
So that's just my feelings about that. But the ARV for this property is 2.5. So I'm so excited. It's in Buckhead, Atlanta. It's like maybe 5 minutes from Phipps Mall. So it's really prime location. It's great. And the lady who owned it previously, she died, and the family was trying to get the property off, very quickly, like very quickly. And it just so happens that one of the things that I kind of get my guys to go, which everybody should do, is build relationships with attorneys just to let them know you're there if they should have a client that needs that, that you can be of service, and bid a property. And that's what happened. And we were able to come in and close really quickly. uh and it's going to be a huge deal. uh and I'm just really excited about it. I'm really excited about it. I literally flew to Atlanta yesterday morning on the first flight and flew back on the last flight. He took care of it.
This is
And
insane. So for those listening, just to clarify what Rich is doing right now, you're getting a property for $1 million. You're putting 250,000 in. The ARV after renovation value is 2.5 million, which will leave a profit minus, whatever fees, realtors, all that, of
right,
over $1 million in one deal. Like that's
one deal, one deal. And listen to this, because it's such a a huge deal. I'm licensed as a agent in New York. I sell all my properties. I don't let anybody sell my properties. So, I'm finding I'm the in New York, they have reciprocation in Georgia. So
Yep.
I'm going to transfer it down there and I'm gonna sell this. It's too much commission. I'm just not gonna give
Dude,
a commission, man.
that's exactly right. Every property we own is outside of Nashville. And my wife's a realtor, but obviously we always do a referral. So it
Mhm.
saves us thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of dollars on the property that we buy. Man, this is really powerful. So there's just a couple other things that I want to talk about in this. The first thing is so you teach this to other people. Like what's that like? Do you have a program? Do you mentor? Is it just for certain people? Like what's that
Uh,
like? How long have you been doing that and how do people access that?
I've been I have a program, and I guess I've been kind of doing it like after my first few deals, because like I said, I needed teamwork. I needed team. So I needed people to do this, that, and the third. And so at first I was kind of like, all right, you want to learn? All right, well then, I'll teach you. You got to do this much, pretty much of service, so kind of like I built my team out that way. And once we kind of got tight, then I would still bring people on and teach them what to do. So I do that in all my businesses. So like even in the music side, which I'm still active in the music side, but on music publishing, which is the real estate of the music business, I buy people's income streams, kind of give them advances and help them build up their values, and then either sell them to another higher buyer or keep them and collect royalties. So I have a place in Atlanta that is like I call it a group home, where I have a bunch of studios in there, and while they're developing, they can live there, and they don't have to worry about like outside bills.
Yeah.
And then I have this school. They pay me to have interns that come down there and work in the studios, and they work with people, and they pay us. So I try and make everything kind of pay for itself within those situations. So with the real estate, it's similar. So now I created a program called 90 Days to Flip, and what we do is we give them the education piece. But honestly, you can get the education piece off of YouTube if you're really on it. But I think where we help out a lot is just my whole focus is on connecting with the sellers and getting
Right.
them comfortable to tell you the truth. Because without that, you won't know how to do the deal. You won't know how to make their problems go away and make it a benefit to you as well. So we do that, and then we help them with financing, so that they don't have to wholesale. A lot of people wholesale and stuff, but if you're going to wholesale a property to me, I'm only going to buy it because it's going to make me, a bunch of money. So it's like you're like giving me a gift, even no matter
Yep.
what you, got on the back end, you're still giving me a ton of money.
Right.
So instead of like my guys, instead of you doing that, I'll just put up the money and we'll go in as a JV or something like that.
I love that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are awesome. Number one, the fact that you teach others, it's just so much more fulfilling, right? Like you doing a
Yeah.
deal is great, but man, when you can mentor someone, help them do a deal and just see their life change in front of your eyes, it's a really powerful thing. And that's cool because you got that mentorship from others, you made something of yourself, you took it, you ran with it, and you're giving that opportunity to other people. I just think that's a really, really powerful thing. Now, is there a link like 90 Days to Flip, is that a place where people can go, or is this more kind of just like word of
Yeah, they
mouth
can
at this
go
point?
to 90 days to flip .com, but they can also go to Like a Genius, where is we have a just a educational flip program. Or they could just hit me up on Instagram. I'll talk to anybody,
Awesome.
at Rich Younglord, on Instagram. Uh, but it's an art, man, and there's so much competition now, because house flipping is pretty popular. We see it on TV all the time. So
That's right.
there's so many people sending letters out to people. There's so many people like knocking on people's doors at the wrong time. There's so many people doing those things. So it really takes some strategy to stand out and to be able to get the truth, to be able to assess it, and see if you can make a deal or not.
Absolutely. But it can be done.
Oh
And,
yeah.
with
Oh
the
yeah.
right mentors, the work ethic, consistency. I mean, you're proving that every day. You're helping a lot of other people doing it.
Yeah.
That's so. One last question on the real estate side of things, because obviously, those that want to learn how to invest in real estate, the number one question that I always get from the people, the listeners, is where do you find these deals? Is it flyers? Is it mailers? Is it, you mentioned something like, forming relationships and partnerships with like attorneys and things like that. Is that like one important source of how you source like some of these deals?
I'll tell you one of my secrets, man. It's yeah, lawyers. I'm a
Mhm.
part of law law associations. I'm not a lawyer, but I did this actually like when from music. I became a part of some law associations, um, and then cops. Be honest with you, cops. I know a lot of police. Now, why that is unique is because police are very their lives are very like extreme, so a lot of times they get divorced, a lot of times and they stick within that. They have a unity as far as with the blue lives. To them is, it's like a family,
Yep.
so um I had a friend who, one of my really good friends, he was a cop. So he got me connected with the police, and you get to know police. And then, my first situation with them, this one guy, he was getting a divorce. I don't know what his wife did, but he was mad, and they had an investment property, and I don't want her to get nothing. So, I'll sell it to you, for what do you want? And I'm telling you, these things happen all the time. So I would say, yeah, you have to get involved in
Yeah.
organizations and really get to know people without, you know, that doesn't necessarily scream real estate, but that just have to deal with people. Whether you're in the churches, one year I did not do this for a real estate deal, but it worked out. I for my 40th birthday, I decided to do 40 things to give back 40
Yeah.
different ways. So this one church, and I'm not even necessarily a church person, but uh, I decided to help them fix up the church, paint and all that. I paid for all that stuff to get done. And then it just happened to be somebody at the church had a big problem with their home, and the pastor recommended they speak to me, and I ended up doing a deal with that house, and I ended up giving them more money. So it's you have to put yourself in position to win.
That's
And
awesome.
then another tip, this is a big thing. You have to have a great deal of empathy. There's certain deals that um I got that I was able to take advantage of because I'm just I try and literally legitimately help people, and you have to understand everybody's situation is a little weird and they don't want to be in that situation. But this one lady, and this actually was one of my biggest deals. I met this lady. She was 75 years old. She saw one of my signs. She calls. She says, "I want to sell my home." Right. And I go to meet with her. We work out a great price. And come to find out, she didn't own the home. Right. But what it was is that it was her mother's home, and her mother passed. Her mother passed it like the year before. Her mother passed in like 96. Uh, but she didn't do the proper steps to change everything in her name. So I said, you know what? No problem. I'm gonna front the cash for us to go through this process. Get your attorney, go through it. The process took 2 years, right?
Wow.
And during this 2 years, this lady called me every day, right? Asking me for updates and
Wow.
asking me to like take her to the store. She wanted to go to the store, bring cans back. I would send my guys over there to take her to the supermarket. And she probably brought back, $3 worth of cans that I, probably spent more than what I paid them to take her. And but I got to know this lady really well. And come to find out, the reason why it took 2 years is because she took a large sum of money out of her mother's bank account after her mother passed. And so during those 2 years, I got to know her. So we finally got everything in her name, the state, everything. 3 days before we close, she goes into a coma, right? So I'm like, what? you know, this
Oh
is
my God.
insane, man. It's so crazy. She goes into this coma. I'm in the hospital, and she's an older Jewish woman. I'm a younger black guy. So they they're like, who are you? Number one, right? And I say, well, I'm a friend of the family, and she really didn't have any family, right? She had some friends, but she didn't have any family. And so I'm there, and miraculously, about 2 weeks later, she came back,
Mm.
and she said, well, I want to sell you this house. Like, what is the problem? Like, set it up. You'll do it in the hospital, right? So her lawyer comes in, and he's like, you know what? Let's give her a few more days. Like, her handwriting wasn't strong enough. He's like, and I don't feel too good about having the closing in the hospital. And so give her some more time. She goes back into the coma, right? At this time, you know, I'm like, this is a lot. But I had a kind of a, I let it go. I put a lot of work and a lot of money into this, but at this point, I understood that she, hey, when it's time, it's time. She came back again, right? And I told her, I went there. I remember there was a rabbi in there, and I walked in the room, and he's like, "Who are you?" And she said, "Oh, that's one of my bestest friends, Richard Frierson." Right? And I said, "Oh, wow." She thought of me that way. That was so cool. And I said to her, I said, "Look, if you are coming back to sell me this house," I was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm okay." You know what I'm saying? But go on your journey, do what you got to do. And the next day she passed. And for a while, I'm like, it's just dead. There's nothing that can happen. It's going to be stuck with the state or something. Uh, but I remembered that, all those times that I spent with her, she told me she had a brother who died that had two daughters. And I was like, okay. She didn't tell me, like, I didn't know the names, but I hired a private investigator, and he found those daughters. And they haven't spoken to their aunt in about 30 years. And when the lady got into her mother's safety deposit box, there was about $1 million worth of bonds in there. So they just came into what the house was worth and those bonds. So, they luckily they sold me the house for what the aunt agreed to sell it to me for. But I felt not only I was happy because I made the deal happen, but I was happy that I was able to be a friend to her before she passed,
Wow.
and also happy that I was able to get the money, her estate, to the rightful people, because after she passed, some of her friends, they came up with wills, and they were like, she gave us everything. And so there was, and I knew the truth, I knew the truth with that. So I felt really good about that. And it took a long time, but I felt like that experience with that house um, was something to teach me that this is even bigger than just flipping houses. You're connecting with people and you're helping them in a vulnerable time.
Wow.
And with that, not only did I get that satisfaction with it, but I was able to make $250,000 within a week. I didn't even fix it. I just sold it, you know.
Wow, dude, this is one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard. This is incredible. You need to write a book. Like I'm sure you have like 50 of those stories
Oh,
from music
oh
and in
man.
real estate. That's man, that's just
Yeah,
it's incredible that it's all, it's more than just making money. It's about helping people. And a lot of people don't see it that way, and they should. It's a really great deal is where everybody gets what they want, like both
yeah.
sides of the party, and they both walk away happy. So many people have this mentality that a great deal is where they lose and you win. And it's just, that's not like that. It's not the case.
It's not. And also some people they gotta understand people talk, So if you do a good deal with somebody, they'll tell their friends, they'll come back to you, or even if you just help people, because there's a lot of times I help people where I don't end up doing a deal, and I'm not worried about that. It's but it's a opportunity that we can connect with people, help them, and profit at the same time. Like this is a really good thing, with flipping houses. It really
Yeah.
is.
The final question that I have, and you said this because, one of the, and I know that one of the biggest questions that most of the listeners are going to have, especially if they want to get involved as a real estate investor, is like, I don't have the money. And you said it, not specifically toward this question, but you said it a bunch of times where you've went into JV partnerships, you went into partnerships, they didn't have the money and you went in. Lack of money is no excuse not
No
to get
excuse.
involved in real estate, because an investor has the money. They don't have the time to search every nook and cranny for deals all of the time. You can
Right.
learn the business and search for deals, and you find one that actually makes sense, the money will come. And can I just have you
Yeah.
speak to that? Because I know a
Oh
lot of people are
man.
going to think, well, it'd be nice to be a real estate investor, but I don't have the money and I don't have great credit. And that's just bullshit. Like there's ways around that.
Yeah.
And I just want to have you share just your thoughts.
Right. That is so untrue. Like, because it's all about the deal. It's all about the deal. You find the right deal. Money will find you. Money will find you, and you can reach out to other people. And you don't have to wholesale. You can really, make up your mind that you're going to see it through and partner up and get paid at the end. It's worth it because it's a big difference. But it's all about the deal. It's all about the deal. And one thing that's been cool is, like, I do a lot of deals now, but a lot of them comes from people that I've mentored and all that stuff that don't necessarily, they don't want to put their money in, or they didn't have the money in, they didn't have the money. Hey, just find the deal. We'll do it. We'll do it. It's no problem.
Absolutely. The last thing I want to have you share is, before we got on here, before we hit that record button, you were saying something, and this is why I want people to take personal development very seriously, and why it's ongoing, and why it's something that, if you look at the most successful people in the world, they invest in their success. Something really powerful you said before we hit that record button. You're like, don't pay attention if it looks weird what I've got on my head, like just share that, because you're wearing headphones and you
Right.
sleep with those on. Can you just share with everybody what you told me? Because I think it's so powerful. Somebody that's built what you've built, that's had the success that you've had, that you're doing things like this. And I think it's an example that everybody should be.
Yeah, so I have these headphones on that I just got from Amazon for like $20, but I could sleep in them and it's soft and it allows me not to disturb my wife at the same time, because I would try with these big headphones. But what I do is I pump myself with subliminal messages and actually scenarios that I want to see come to pass, so I try and connect them with my subconscious mind. And the reason why I do that is because I believe I've seen it. I know billionaires, I know very successful people, and it starts with the mind. It starts with what level you're thinking about, what level you're expecting, where you're going at, and it all is mindset. And coming from music, like it's like I've been very successful, right? But even with that success, for every success I've heard maybe 5,000 no's. Like there were like maybe 2.5 years that everything I did and that I brought to Puffy, he would say no. And it wasn't just a no, it was that shit is garbage. Or, he's very expressive about how he feels, doesn't sugarcoat anything, which is great. So that takes it was great because it forced me to build a tough skin and to not take anything personal, because the same way, just using him as an example, but the same way how he was, hard for it not being great, he was so happy when the stuff I did would hit. He would give the same thing. So you can't take it personal. It's all in part of it. And even with this business, when I get calls all the time, well, not anymore, but I used to get calls from like direct marketing. Why are you sending me this? Or how'd you get my address? Or, all of this stuff, people cursing you out, or people doing this, or even in some instances, people not wanting to, work with you, maybe because of racism or something like that. I cannot take anything personal. I have to keep my vision on a higher plane to be able to get past all of those things. And one of keeping those ideas and my vision in mind, that's what gives me the armor to not take on all of those negative things that we go through on a daily basis.
Man, that's powerful. This is one of my favorite interviews. Everybody is going to be better for listening to this episode. Rich, I just want to thank you, man. This is awesome.
So thanks for having me.
Where can people follow you? What's the best way to connect with you, to say thank you? Like if people want to follow your content and they want to connect and say hi, where's the best place to do it?
Well, the best place to do it is Instagram. I'm on Instagram as @Rich Younglord. Facebook, you can hit me up there. Or you can, hey, if you want to learn more in the real estate stuff, you can 90 Days to Flip. You can jump in there.
And is that the number 90, like, so 90
yes,
days?
90. Yeah, right. Take it for granted, right? Yeah, but just reach out, and if there's any like small questions, I answer questions all day. And if you happen to do music and you want to make it happen, I'm still involved in that heavy. My company over there is Licensed to Rock, and we place music on TV shows and films and stuff like that. And
wow,
we're kicking some butt. So it's if you're into music, come join the party too.
Awesome. Well, man, wishing you all the success in the world. Thank you so much for your time. And I might have to move some other episodes around to get this one released pretty quick. This is a great interview, man. So thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.